The midpoint of this line, the blue line, is a point on it halfway between the extreme ends. Now the question, R and S have coordinate 2 and 1 and 8 and 5. Find the midpoint on the line RS. Now point R is the one having 2 and 1 because the X is 2 and Y is 1. So this is the point R. And the point X is the point having coordinate 8 and 5. So this is the point for S. And now we need to look at the midpoint. The midpoint somewhere here. Now we can do this with a graph or by the analytical method, but I want to use the analytical method. So to find the midpoint, I need to add my x's and divide by 2 and add my y's and divide by 2. Now for the first coordinate, this is x and this is y. This is x and this is y. Now to find the midpoint, I'm going to find the average of the x's, x plus x and divide by 2, and also the average of the y's, y plus y divided by 2. Of course, I have to put that in brackets. Now the first x here is 2 and 8, so you have 2 add 8 and divided by 2, put it in the bracket, of course. And for y here, a 1 plus 5, so 1 plus 5 divided by 2. Now if you work out 2 plus 8 is going to be 10, and 10 divided by 2, comma, and for y, I add 1 plus 5, and that's 6, 6 divided by 2, put it in bracket. To complete this calculation, I'll divide 10 divided by 2 will be 5, and 6 divided by 2 will give it 3. So the coordinate for x and y is 5 and 3, and we can show that on the graph very easily. The midpoint definitely is 5 for the x, and for the y is 3, and when you trace them up here, you'll find they meet somewhere here. So this point is the midpoint. You can see how this correlates with the graph. Now next example, I'm going to show you more examples. In the second example, we have R and X have coordinates 0 and 2 and 8 and 5. Now we need to find the midpoint of the line RS. Now the point R has coordinates 0 and 2, so I have to look at that point. X is 0, Y is 2, so this is a point for R. And for X, for S, you have 8 and 5, 8, 5, so this is the point for point X. And now we need to find out the midpoint of this line segment RS. Definitely it's going to be somewhere in the middle, but I don't know exactly. And one way I can do that is to use my solving analytical method. To do that, remember, I have to list my x here, and this is my y, this is my x, and this is my y. Now to find the midpoint, I'll take the averages of the x and y. So if I take my first average, 0 add 8, so I have 0 add 8 divided by 2, separate to the comma, and then the next coordinate for y, I'll add 2 and 5, so I have 2 add 5 divided by 2 and separate it to the bracket. Now if you add up the top fraction, 0.8 is going to be 8 divided by 2, comma, and add the top 2 plus 5, 7 divided by 2. Please put them in bracket. And then if you simplify this further, you're going to have 8 divided by 2 is 4, and 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. Now this represents the coordinate of the midpoint. Now let's see if we are very correct. Let's use the graph. Now the value for x is 4, so definitely going to be 4 here, and the value for y is 3.5 here. So if you trace both points, you're definitely going to notice that they will meet exactly at the midpoint here of the line segment RS. So that point where they meet is called the midpoint, and so we're very correct. Now in the next example, I'm going to wrap up this with negative values. Are you ready? So let's go for it. Now to find an example, we need to find the midpoint of this line segment having coordinates -5 and 2 and 6 and 7. First I need to spot the point R and X on this line. For R has coordinate -5 and -2, definitely we have X is -5 and Y is -2. Definitely this point is the point for R, and here definitely going to be the point for X. I need to find the midpoint. To find the midpoint, I need to find the average of the x and the average for the y. Now these are the ordinates for is x, ordinate y, ordinate x, ordinate y for r and x respectively. The midpoint now will be the average of minus 5 and 6. So we have minus 5 plus 6 divided by 2. And the average for y is minus 2 plus 7. Minus 2 plus 7 divided by 2. Okay, put them in brackets. If you simplify the top fraction, minus 5 plus 6 is going to give you 1 over 2. And minus 2 plus 7 is 5 over 2. Now we could leave our answer in this fraction, but I like to leave my answer in fraction. Did I say fraction? I mean decimal. So if I put this in decimal, 1 over 2 is the same thing as 0.5, and 5 over 2 is the same thing as 2.5. Now this represents the midpoint coordinate, which is going to be somewhere here. So to help me correlate it with my work here, I will locate the midpoint. Beginning with x ordinate 0.5 will be somewhere here, and for y is 2.5 somewhere here, and when they trace it together up the corridors down the stairs, we'll meet somewhere here. Now this is the midpoint, and that's clearly evident, and this is, we'll call it the point M. So this is how you solve problems about midpoint. If you have any problem, feel free to email me. Thank you.